You guys taking a few minutes to talk with us today and to speak with us and let us know how you feel about things that are happening. What we're going to talk about today to start off with, you can see on the screen, is really around our 4 pillars strategy, which is around consultation, workforce development, business development, and community relations. And we're going to talk to you about how we fulfill our strategy. And what I'm wanting from these leaders in the room is your guidance for what we can do in the limited funds that we do have. You'll see that we do support the communities quite heavily, but if there's areas that we can do better, we want to hear about that. Like, where can we direct things? And I'm really looking forward to and appreciate the mentorship. I will tell you, Mayor Pope, I consider him a mentor of mine since I've been here. The mayor and I meet quite often. Other folks in Fort Good Hope who I've met with quite regularly. I do have a standing meeting with President Arutzi that we meet on a monthly basis and make sure that we know what's going on. And I'd love to do that with other folks in the other communities as well. Equatidia Gadet, or Mayor Doug Yawley, or Chief Andrew. Like I'm there, and I'm more than happy to listen to how can we put our funds to the best use possible. And I will tell you, when we receive requests for funding, I want to make sure it aligns with what the community leaders say, because we do receive quite a few requests for funding, and I want to make sure that it gets the biggest bang for its buck. Community leaders have their pulse, have their fingers on the pulse of the community and where it matters the most. And so that's what we're going to talk about a bit today. Again, I'm John Gregory. I'm the superintendent, and then I'm going to have Jason Tarcon. He's our maintenance and logistics foreperson. He's going to be talking a bit about primarily workforce development and business development side of things.
I guess it's good afternoon now. So again, we echo John's comments. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and engage. And honestly, it was a heavy topic before us. I also live here. I've been in the community for about 18 months. Those that are in Norman Wells, you might see my wife and I. We walk around with a little black and white dog who likes to actually bark at everybody as we walk past. So we love getting out and about and beautiful scenery and get out and snowmobile and do different things like that. So we're super appreciative, and honestly, it's quite honoring and humbling to actually come and be part of the Sahtu Summit today. And we ended up bringing some chocolate bars and thought it was quite fitting when you take a look, and the community, every community leader that talked and spoke this morning talked about being unified and sharing in the responsibility, and that's kind of what we're here for too as well. And and it's a great day at Norman Wells, and I think more about the Sahtu cannot be achieved alone. Every person must, and every team must work together as one. So quite fitting in that way. So it's not necessarily about the chocolate over there, although I hopefully enjoy it, but really that's, we appreciate that opportunity. So thanks, Mayor Frank, for setting this up and us and being invited to that. So as John mentioned, my part is I'm a maintenance and logistics foreperson, so I'm really heavily involved in execution and the different things that go on in Norman Wells and with Imperial Oil and workforce development. So that's my part. I haven't been able to make it out to too many community engagements, but hope to do more and get to know everybody more and more. So bear with me as I present, and hopefully it sparks some questions as well, as John mentioned. So one of the, our Imperial Oil workforce, if you look, adds up to about, and that's the pie chart on the left-hand side. So this would be supporting Norman Wells. And as of January 2024, we have about 79 people supporting the Norman Wells asset within Imperial Oil. So 41 of those are rotation. We are quite heavily rotation. We have some of the similar staffing challenges in the region and rely on some of that rotation workforce. They do stay over in the Trumpeter camp. We have been growing we have 14 people in, so thank you. We have 14 people in Calgary that support us, and we actually have a couple individuals online that, if there's any questions, or subject matter experts that are part of that. And then we have Northern Live-ins here that, so like, for example, myself and John Jessica Butterfield is actually, a lot of you got to know her in the community as well, as our logistics coordinator. And then 14 Sahtu beneficiaries as well that work for us too. So in total, we have about 24 people, 24 families that live in the community, and we've tried to, offset the rotational staff with that and continue to try and develop that. So with that, we'll go on to our Northern Development Program. So since 2014, we've invested $2 million in our Northern Development Trainee Program. Currently, we have 9 staff that have successfully been through that program and trained mostly in the operations and 1 community affairs aspect. Not sure if we can fix some of that feedback, but that's okay. And this year, actually, quite a successful Northern Development Program trainees. We hired on 5 individuals, 2 in our maintenance, 2 in our operations staff, and actually 1 in our warehousing supply chain for the first time. And all are working out quite well and training and, even signing up for apprenticeship programs and different things like that. So, we continue to try and grow that. Actually, this week we're interviewing for a NDP admin trainee as well. So I'll actually be helping conduct those on Friday. So that's 2 more candidates as we continue to grow that program and grow the knowledge and the training aspects and those expertise within the Sahtu. Some examples here. I'll just jump on to where we want to actually be really partnering, and we're so appreciative, and our preference is to partner with local workforces and local businesses, and develop that economics back into the Sahtu and the region, and partner with every community in that way, right? And you'll hear John talk about that a little more. And I'll give you some examples. One actually big example that worked out really well, and I'm going to give a props and a thank you to Frank and Mayor Frank and Kathy Clark as well. We worked pretty heavily with them just recently. There was a bunch of work over down on the ice. We posted on Facebook to stay away from the big holes. We just wrapped that up yesterday, actually, and rearmoring some rock. So that involves like HRN, the quarry, the weigh scales. And we're starting to put the numbers together. It's one of our bigger projects that we've done in quite a while, and partnering together, we would not have been able to do that working 24/7. And we basically were 72 days straight, and we started building ice with some local hires as well, right to where we had to lay a rock as well to protect the pipelines. So that's just one example. And so, when you look at our budget that we have for services and supplies, we do about $20 to $30 million a year, and that's, and that interjects back into the Sahtu region, and roughly about 35 to 40% of our services and materials budget. And we continue to try and seek to grow that further, just to continue to build that economics within here and within the communities, right? And in that way. So that's something that we continue to strive and put a lot of focus on that. Some other examples of partners that we've partnered with in that way, and a bit of a new one, our seasonal helicopter is Toledo Summit Air Services. So we actually switched contracts on that one just recently, and they'll be supporting us here this year, starting off. HRN contracting, all our large equipment, use of graders, roads, repairs, rock hauling, quite a variety of stuff in that way. Our medics, we have two medics that we employ through HSE Integrated that actually quite often end up helping out in certain aspects over at the health center. So and lending a hand in different aspects. SRP Petroleum for fuel and oil needs. McCoy Expediting is our logistics transporting. They're a little bit known as BBE, Braden Bury Expediting. And Canal Oil Field Services, a lot of our logistics transporting, steamer, vac, and some of those oil field services that we do on site. TRS Advision for sample needs. Trumpeter Camp, I already mentioned. We have quite a rotation workforce that does work here, including our contractors that come and go too to help out a little bit. And these are just some of the examples. And so from 2014 to 2023, and obviously we're continuing to grow that here in 24. about $175 million got re-injected back into the Sahtu. So like John said, we want to continue to partner and know, as you know, where are those opportunities that we can do that, not even just from a business and developing, but you look at that workforce development is so super important. The corporation takes that very seriously. That's why they move somebody like myself here instead of having rotators. Personally, I appreciate being here and being able to interject in and have that 100% pride and ownership into the our facilities day to day and into the community, and that's what we continue to strive to develop in that way, right? And constantly have a focus on that. So that's all I had to say on this aspect. I think I'll turn it over to John on the community investments and benefits portion.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just scroll to the top again. I want to go through NDP just a bit more.
Sure.
So yeah, thanks, Jason. Jason largely covered what we're doing with workforce development, business development opportunities. We look for additional opportunities. You may have caught it in 2014. About 25% of our spend was with Sahtu Indigenous companies. Now it's 35 to 40%. So we are increasing in that space, and it's a significant sum each year with the Sahtu companies. I want to spend just a couple minutes with the NDP and talk about, because I'll be honest, that's been an area that I've been incredibly pleased with the folks that we brought in pretty recently, basically the talent pool that we were able to leverage out of the Sahtu. And so, as Jason said, we brought on 5 more NDP this last year. They've been with us for 6-ish months, some of them now, 4 to 6 months. And he mentioned the folks that are there. I know we have grandparents of one of the folks in the audience, Joe and Angela. So thank you very much for allowing us to hire Conrad. And there's others. Workforce development, and what we heard from Joe and what we heard from others is you need to have jobs. Jobs help. That's what Imperial does. That's our primary goal, is to provide jobs. And we want to bring people back to the Sahtu. A couple of our NDPs were actually living in Fort Simpson and Fort Smith. We brought back an electrician, and we brought back a plant operator. Now they're living in one's home goods arrived yesterday, and he and his family are actually coming back on Tuesday next week. It's a big deal to bring these families back to the Sahtu. It helps the community, it helps the schools out, but it also builds capabilities in the Sahtu, builds capabilities in Northern Wells. And I'll take you back, and Doug, I shared this with you not too long ago. Toledo was having a power outage, and it had lasted for a couple days. That was back spring last year, May 21st. I remember I have text messages on my phone at 7 a.m. where my team's contacting me. NTPC can't get Toledo's power back on. John, can we help them? Of course we can. I didn't realize they'd been without power for 2 days. We put our electricians on the plane, got their power running very quickly for them. They've been without power for multiple days. We're trying to bring those capabilities back. As I said, we recently hired an NDPP electrician. He's moving to Norman Wells. Hopefully he's going to stay in Norman Wells, or he's going to stay in the Sahtu. We will not be here forever, but we hope to leave a legacy of qualified, competent workers here that have learned to work as well. That's what's so important about the workforce development. Also the business development. We don't employ everybody directly, but we certainly get our piece into lots of different local contractors so that they can have money for their people and train their people and get their people where they need to be. Moving to community investments. Again, as I said, I'm going to talk about community investments for a short period of time. I want to make sure I'm aligned in where I provide funds with community leaders. Doesn't matter. These are areas that we're interested in. You can see $5 million in investments and benefits over last 10 years. If we go down just a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about our scholarships program. Scholarships, we're actually starting to give out a little bit more in scholarships lately. It has been about 25 grand each year, but we're actually giving out a bit more there. The reason why we're doing that is we get some testimonials back from these scholarship recipients, and it meets what we really want to do, which is build capabilities here, get people to come back. I want to share a few bits and pieces from some of these scholarship recipients. I just have a few that I highlighted here. This person says, financial issues were a barrier to me. Receiving this scholarship as a Sahtu beneficiary makes me proud because I want to make my people proud and give back to them and the Sahtu. I will be setting an example for our youth that post-secondary school is achievable. That's a big deal. Obviously it resonates, I think, with certainly the Imperial folks, and we want to put money towards that. Another, it helped me excel in my studies. There are many opportunities for Sahtu beneficiaries in academia, and Imperial Oil does a great job of supporting that by providing this scholarship. Another, it fulfills my dream of being an educated and experienced First Nations educator from the Sahtu Northwest Territories. It feels so great to be recognized for my efforts and hard work. From another, I hope to work in collaboration with communities toward wellness that is based on our connection to the land. We heard a lot about that in the first session. And then, one more quote that I wanted to share here. Not only is it supporting my education, but it is also giving me the opportunity to give back to the Indigenous community. Once I become a registered nurse, I plan on coming back to Northwest Territories to work in the communities. So that's what we're looking for. So we really focus, as I said, on the 4 pillars: consultation, workforce development, business development, and community relations. Again, $250,000 in scholarships and educational awards, grad gifts. That's what we've done over the last 10 years. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see the over $1.5 million on some housing that we've donated pretty recently. I'm sure nobody here is unaware of the shutdown that occurred due to Line 21 outage in 2017, 2018. At that point in time, we switched to more of a rotational workforce. One of my key focus areas is to fill our homes with employees, NDP oftentimes, give them a home, and get them back into the community. We won't be able to fill all those homes. So we began in 2022 to really start to donate homes to land corporations, and that way they could do something with those homes. We've now donated 9 of the 10 homes. We have 1 more home to go, and I'm working with President Arutsi to get that going with the Yamoga Corporation. He's very interested to take it. And I'm pretty sure all those homes are full. Like the 9 homes that we've provided, it's alleviated some of the housing challenges that we have in Norman Wells. It's provided a funding opportunity for these land corporations as well. It's allowed them to put their, business development partners in homes as well. And so really pleased to be able to get that rolling. And like I said, we have 1 more home to go. I kind of thought those homes would go very quickly. It took us a bit longer to get them across the board than I would have liked, but we're super pleased to have them now donated and folks enjoying them and living in them and giving back to the community essentially. If we keep scrolling down, we've also just provided less program-driven donations. You heard a little bit about from Delaney participating in the Sahtu Cup here coming up, and they're going to bring a retired NHL gentleman as their coach. So the Sahtu Cup is something that we've probably sponsored for a long time. I think this is our 25th or 26th year. Every year, super glad to sponsor that. That's in that $820K. We also give tens of thousands of dollars to the food bank. We give Santa's Anonymous, Christmas parties, hand games tournaments, Sahtu Cup. I mentioned Sahtu Cup. We also, sponsor and spend community visits and dinners and Neighbor Week and having a community dinner with the Fort Good Hope folks and trying to get that with Delaney here soon and Colville Lake, but also with Norman Wells and Toledo, having those community dinners that we did. Community dinner back in August with Toledo, right around the wildfire time, which was a challenging time for everybody, I think. So that's all part of that number as well. And then finally, I do want to make we do have specific programs that you can apply for as well. And we apply through folks in the community. Lisa Duncan's one of our community relations advisor. We also have Wendy Smith, who's originally from Inuvik, and she's now supporting us as well. But we also have specific programs that you can apply for. Maybe you scroll over to the right. One of those programs is called the Partnering Today for Tomorrow program. That started in 2015. You can see we've given out $465,000 since 2015, so that's 9 years. Generally 50 or more a year. And it's just the application process that you need to go through, and you can see what we've given those all that to this year. park upgrades for town of Norman Wells, Sahtu Divisional Education Council for their heritage fairs. We've given $50K to GOBA Healthcare, which really does help, I think, from an escort perspective for folks that have to go to Edmonton for medical travel. So we give them $50K for that. That's a gal out of Fort Good Hope that runs that program, or used to live from Fort Good Hope, I should say. Youth Trades Program in Toledo, the Renewable Resource Council of Fort Good Hope with their country food processing, like lots of different opportunities. Beyond this partnering today for tomorrow, we also have generally another $50,000 to $60,000 to $75,000 that you can apply for other smaller grants as well. And so I would say if you're interested in those things, be sure and contact me. I'll get you in touch with the folks, and I have people in Calgary that support this program full time, but also I have local folks that can help you walk through that and make sure that you get as much funding as possible. We definitely want to give it out. We generally at the end of the year, they're banging on us saying, why haven't we given this money out yet? And it's only about us getting to you and understanding where your needs are. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover from a community benefits perspective. I did mention we're not going to be here forever. We want to leave the community stronger than how we, than when we came, and therefore workforce development, business development is a big deal for us. So what are we doing to try to be here longer? We've said fairly consistently since I've been here that we have 5 to 10 more years of operation. The reason why it's 5 to 10 years is some of that is out of our control. A lot of it has to do with price of oil, and can we operate economically. And so you just don't know what's going to happen with the price of oil. That's something that's dictated across the globe with wars in Ukraine and wars in Gaza and all kinds of global supply chain challenges. And so we don't know exactly how long we will be here. We are very confident 5 to 10 years. Maybe you can open up the other PDF. So what are we doing to be here longer? For us to continue to be here for 5 to 10 years, and we communicated this through the regulators pretty recently. We communicated this to the town of Norman Wells as well very clearly, and we're working to get time set up with leaders in the other communities. We have clearly said that, well, let me talk about the regulatory process just briefly. So we are now applying for extension of our regulatory licenses, an operations authorization, but also a water license. That's something that we have to do every 10 years. It's nothing new. We've done it before. We did it in 2014. Now we're doing it again in 2024, and we'd like to continue to operate for 10 years per those licenses. In addition to that, we also would like to replace some pipelines. So we had a pipeline failure, a produced water pipeline failure in the river in the mid-2022. Since that point, our operation, we shut down any pipelines that were near it. There were some oil pipelines near it, and there was a gas pipeline near it, and we shut those down to ensure that we wouldn't have any kind of oil or gas release. So we've had that production shut down for a year and a half now, over a year and a half, and that's about 30% of our production. So without that pipeline, we are not profitable. I think that's the clearest way to say it. And in order for us to continue that operation for 5 to 10 years, we've been very clear with regulators that we need approvals this year to replace that pipeline. If we don't have approvals this year to replace that pipeline, we can't do the work next year. And then in 2026, that's when it really gets very, very challenging for us without that pipeline. So we need the pipeline reinstalled before next year. And I'll tell you the reason why that is. So our operation, we produce gas and oil. We pull the gas out of that oil, and we put the oil down a pipeline going south. But the gas, we use that to run our operation. We run off the natural gas that we pull from the ground. We also supply the town of Norman Wells power with that natural gas. We run it through our turbine generators, and all that electricity then goes into the town and runs our operation. We are at a point in the life cycle of this asset where the volumes are low enough, the gas is low enough to where eventually we won't have enough gas to run our operation. We view that as around 2026. And once we need to start using diesel to run the operation, it is too costly to run. So right now we are providing gas to the town. We provide a lower emission source, lower GHG intensity electricity product to the town, but also it allows us to run, period. We don't have enough tankage for diesel in this town to even run our operation. So it would take capital expenditures, and as folks recognize, it is challenging for us to get fuel to Northern Wells, and we definitely don't want to be driving fuel demand in Northern Wells on the winter road system and the barging system as well. So that's where that comes from. When we talk to the communities, when we talk to regulators, and we say, look, we need this year because we have a big project that we need to do next year. Otherwise, we just don't have enough gas, natural gas, to even run our operation. That's where we are likely to shut down if we don't have that. So that's what we're trying to do so we can continue to operate for another 5 to 10 years, continue our community benefits programs, continue our workforce development program, be able to take these folks through the NDP program that we're bringing through right now, a mechanic, an electrician, a couple plant operator, a field operator, a warehouse person, bringing on an admin this year. That's what we need to continue to do what we've been doing. And with that said, I think I'm ready for any questions from the group.
Questions, anyone?
Got a couple.
Sorry, Jimmy. John, I'm not sure what your policies are in respect to supporting local contractors, and I see that you've got a number of companies that you are supporting locally here, but your last water license was due in 2014, and it was reissued. As of 2016, there were a number of local contractors that were disinvited to work on your facility. Now, I'm just wondering, is there anything you would do to change that scenario, to reverse what's been changed? There are employees that were working with these said companies from all communities in Sahtu, and I think that would benefit the communities again if you would entertain that consideration. Yeah,
no, I'd like to know. I mean, I wasn't here in 2016. I'd like to understand who that was, but we have grown our local indigenous spend, but it doesn't mean we've caught everybody. And so we recently had some meetings with other folks that are local and trying to look for opportunities for them to fit within our operational needs. I'd say as a big company, very strict safety standards is generally what drives kind of disinvitations. I don't know what the background was, but 2016 is a long time ago. And so, happy to discuss those again if you have the details on that, or we can, I'd be no problem having a meeting and discussing it.
I'd certainly be happy to sit down and discuss these companies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Diane.
Just wanted to, you said you had 9 homes donated to the local governments. Can I ask who those 9 homes were, who the homes were donated to? And the other one was the repairs on your pipeline that you said that happened in 2022. Is there, can I ask what happened? Mm-hmm. Was it preventable, or is it something that we're going to see again happen?
Yep, that was great questions. So let's first focus on the pipeline, and then we'll get to the homes. So the pipeline, in 2022, we had very high flow events, which we didn't see in 23, obviously with our low water level. We don't expect to see it this year with low water levels, but very high flow events, what we call flood level events. During those flood level events, you have rapidly moving water, and there between Bear and Goose Island is where the failure occurred. Between Bear and Goose Island, we saw unprecedented riverbed erosion. So our pipelines are buried that cross the river, generally at least 1 meter in depth. And so what we learned in this scenario is it actually eroded 3 meters, more than we'd seen in the 40 years of our operation. And so What we have done to address that is we brought in, I'd say, global experts to look at all our pipelines. We're taking samples as well of the soil around our pipelines to say, well, is this a soil that we think could erode? And then what type of flood event would erode this pipeline? So we're taking, I'd say, significant action to ensure it does not happen again. It was unexpected based on our operational experience, but we've opened the lens for what is the operational experience of others and looked globally for that. We actually have a contractor that's out of Europe that's actually doing a lot of our studies to support that, and that's who we had to go through because that's who is the world leading expert on it. So that's the intent of ensuring it never happens again. For our pipeline project, to replace those lines, we're actually looking at what's called a directional drill, which will put the line 15 meters below the riverbed to ensure that that line absolutely has no likelihood or no possibility of that happening again. Now for the houses, yes, the houses. So the houses, we set aside 2 houses for each of the Sahtu communities, and we divided those up by the land corporations. If there was 2 land corporations in the community, they each got 1 house. That's how that worked. So Fort Good Hope, Yamoga got 1 house, but then the Fort Good Hope Métis got 1 house. And Toledo Land Corporation got 1 house, and the Fort Norman Métis community got 1 house. And then Ayunike got 2 houses, Delaney got 2 houses, and the Norman Wells Land Corporation got 2 houses.
All in Norman Wells.
All our houses are in Norman Wells.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jimmy Mendo, Toledo. Thank you. I just had a couple of questions I want to ask. And the first one's what Consultor Kelly talked about. I think what you guys maybe should do, go to each community and see what the opportunity that locally business can do. And I always hear this good neighbor, that's you guys' famous word. Because I guess you always it's been brought up so many times about 100 years of, and then we really get nothing out of our community. And I have to be honest with you about that. And so the best you probably can do, come to the community and good old Cove Lake, Delaney, and Toledo, and check the business people, and maybe they might not fit into you guys' work, but maybe help on their safety managing, and then they can go. And that's, that's number one. I think that's a very good. And the second one, I know, it's like you said, if you don't do the permit, and then 5 years or whatever, you're going to shut down. Okay. You guys ever thought about partner up with the land corporation or you got the Sonova sitting across there, on the oil, and you got at Summit Creek and Slade River and Conoco, and you got all this in Cove Lake. I mean, you guys ever thought about that? Partner with them or partner with Toledo, our land corporation? Okay, well, how can you keep that oil field going longer? Because right now, I think guys are hesitating for remediation cleanup, because that's a huge expense. And so on that remediation cleanup, okay, so if you guys do remediation, you guys start maybe 5-7 years and then start to clean up. Are you guys going to take all the pipe out of the ground, or you guys have a grandfather clause so you guys can just leave them in the ground? And I know one of the things that's, and you guys have to take all your material out, are you going to leave it here? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Those are really great questions. So maybe starting at the top, it was around engaging the community, and yes, that's part of our strategy. So I'd say that's consultation and engagement. I certainly intend to and seek out meetings with leaders of communities on a regular basis. And so I would like to be able to continue to do that, and certainly highlight to me where you feel like folks have an opportunity to support the business. I only take those as good opportunities for us, and we We do have lots of work that needs to be done here. It's kind of interesting. I go back to some of what I hear from some of the leaders, and generally what the leaders say is, we have human resource challenges. Not land resources. We're rich with land resources. We're rich in water resources, but it's human resources. And so that's generally where I hear that we're having challenges to fill roles and fill jobs and provide jobs for folks. So yes, I'll continue that consultation and engagement, and I will tell you we are very active at that, and I'll continue to do that. And certainly, you said you're with Toledo, so talk to Chief Andrew and to Doug and others, and hopefully we can have those communications and also have those meetings. We do try to set up meetings proactively to get this information as well. Let's see. Now I'm remembering the third question. The third question is around closure and reclamation. So closure and reclamation. So we are absolutely focused on what we need to be doing from a closure and reclamation perspective. We're advancing what needs to be done internally. As far as what all is left, we recognize that's not just up to us. And so there will be an environmental assessment. The environmental assessment here in Canada is generally a 5 to 7 year assessment. And through that assessment process, you determine, do the islands stay, do the pipes stay? You really want to understand, do you take it back to exactly as it was, or is that more environmentally detrimental versus leaving some things in place? And so that's part of that environmental assessment. And so communities will have a part in that as well. I will tell you, in all honesty, we were really wanting to talk about closure and reclamation with communities for quite some time, but we also have renewal permits that are due soon. We have this pipeline project that's very critical to us even continuing operation. So we stopped pressing that on communities because it was a lot. There's a lot. I will tell you, as soon as we get through this regulatory process for pipeline replacement and for our license to operate permits renewals completed, we will definitely be engaging the communities and consulting with the communities on what we need to do for closure and rec as well. But there's nothing that's set in stone on closure and reclamation at all. It is a long process to figure out what we want to do there. I would also say we are not intentionally pushing off closure and reclamation. We want to run a profitable business and continue to build the capabilities in the Sahtu. That's what's happening. And so we have opportunity to do that. And as long as we can do that, there's no need for closure and reclamation. We do not intentionally push that. And was there anything else that I missed?
Pardon me?
Did I miss one of your questions? Was there
Yeah,
any?
the question about, partnering up with the corporation to extract,
Oh, yeah.
Because, years ago, that's what the vision to, now you're talking about this remediation team, that's
Yeah.
why I'm kind of questioning that.
Yeah, I haven't probably been on the file long enough to see that. I will tell you there's some blue sky thinkers amongst your leaders that really think about those things. I think specifically about Equity Gaudet, and he talks about resource development and becoming a partner in those things. I don't hear that often, but you really need to have a community that supports that. I know they were looking to develop resources across the river at some point in time prior to me being here, and it didn't go forward. And I think it's because it didn't have community support at the time. But as things become more real in closure and reclamation, I'm hoping community leaders help come together and support the business folks that would like to do those things.
So when you're saying that if the people, the leadership come together to support, partner with, are you guys willing to be part of it? This is you guys are all through here.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I've progressed that much internally, but I think as long as there's support within the community, at one point in time, folks really wanted to produce that. They wanted to produce from Husky and ConocoPhillips, but ultimately, something came up, and my understanding at the time was it was more ultimately making it profitable, I guess. But if community supports it, and I think it will become more real as we get closer to closure and reclamation. I don't have the answer for that right now, though.
The thing came up with the 1 year recession, that's what happened.
Oh, okay, during the recession. Okay, gotcha.
Leonard?
My name is Rosa.
Oh, sure.
Etchinelle.
My apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah.
My name is Rosa Etchinelle. I'm from Toledo. I have a question. I commend you guys for like employing grade 12 students. Like you guys done well there. But my question to you is, what have you done for those that haven't graduated school? Because not everybody is good in that area, but a lot of people in the Sahtu are really do well with hands-on. So what have you done to employ them if they didn't have the grade 12? Or what do you guys, would you guys be able to help those young people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, our NDP program does require grade 12 graduates. So I think that's fair. I should probably make that very clear. We do employ other contractors, and we don't specify what their education they do require. I know through Floor Driver they have some folks that are from Fort Good Hope and work for a Floor Driver, and I know BCI and Boiler Controls Inc. and others employ others. But for us and the roles that we have, we generally require a grade 12. With that said, we spend $20 to $30 million a year on Sahtu-based companies. And so, as I said, human resources is what I keep hearing from leaders is the biggest challenge. That money is going to go to somebody in the Sahtu, 20 to 30 million. And if they have Sahtu people that are not quite graduated from high school, then all the better. But I wouldn't say that necessarily is a focus of ours. We do provide grad gifts and encourage people to get through school. But for us, it is a kind of grade 12 graduate, and then you can be an NDP.
Okay, so my question is, would you guys be able to employ them as well as you're putting them through school? Would you be able to do that to, everybody here is under Land Corporation, and I think you guys should adhere to the Sahtu claim.
So I'd probably have to take that away. So we do provide funding for land corporations. They provide employment, but I'd have to take away what exactly we can do for people. We do summer programs for people that are not quite graduated, but they are in school. And generally you're getting grade 11 or grade 12 type students. But I'd have to take away what we can do for folks that need grade 11, grade 12 graduations. Thank you.
Can I say something? My name is Beverly Masuzumi. I'm from Fort Good Hope. It's not so much a question. Maybe it's to ask for an apology. Last year, my daughter, who was in her second year of Bachelor of Arts, she went to Cranbrook last year. She's in U of A this year. She called Imperial Oil, asked for a summer job. She was told that she had to find her own place, find her own way over here, so she did. She kept getting pushed back. And then finally she said, I'm just coming home, Mom. I'm just going to come home to hell with this. She paid for a month's rent. She dug into her school savings. Paid for her ticket and everything. She never even got a letter from Imperial Oil saying, I'm sorry. Why was she even promised anything if you're not going to follow through, especially if it's a post-secondary education student? Because you're saying grade 12. Well, this one is a grade 12 plus.
Yeah.
So I guess all I'm asking is an apology.
Yeah.
And all the leaders.
Yeah, no, so I'll apologize for that. I think, and Danielle, was it? Yeah, so I remember Danielle. I'm surprised that I didn't send her an email or something. I felt like I did do that, but I do apologize for that. I don't know how that happened personally. She was dealing with our administrative staff. She was coming in as a summer student admin, and I'll be honest, I was excited for that, and she was gonna help us with kind of engagements with folks. So I was very excited to get her on. I don't know where the lines got disconnected or crossed, but I do apologize for that. I don't think that was right. I didn't like it when I found out about it. I felt like I did send Danielle a note, but I do apologize for that. Yeah, she was coming in as a summer student, another area that I really want people to come in.
Leonard Kenny.
Good afternoon. Leonard Kenny from Delaney, Lieutenant Governor. Just a couple questions at the end. In Delaney, we're kind of isolated. We're not on the Mackenzie River. I guess us and Copper Lake, I guess, we're in the same boat. So our windows to bring in anything is only like 28 days every year. And in terms of, we're self-government, but we rely on business opportunities and stuff like that to run our government, because everybody that works for DGG, their income tax comes back to us. So it's in our best interest to try to create opportunities for everyone, employment and business. So companies like yourself, multi-million dollar business, I think. But those opportunities, we haven't really seen from ESSO, not in Delaney. Maybe Norman Walls and Toledo, but I haven't seen it in, not much. So we have to look at what can we do in terms of to try to create those opportunities. I think we're a claimant group, we belong with the rest of the 7 corporations that make up the comprehensive land claim. And so we're all in it together. So it's just logistic-wise, we don't get those opportunities. But I just like to remind you that we are part of the claimant group, and if there's contract opportunities, we have to be included. But the legacy that you want to leave behind too is that what did you do for the Sahtu region? I think part of it could be, I don't know if you can, but the federal government is running out of money, and Sahtu, the region is having a hard time looking at building this highway simply because there's no money. And part of your legacy could be funding part of that highway. Another one would be, there's greenhouse gas targets set by Canada, and we're not going to meet it simply because it's impossible. So I think you talked about running your business or by natural gas. We're sitting on tons of it, right? We're the oil capital of the Northwest Territories for many, many years, and I think we still are. So those opportunities are there. So I think communities, we want to get off diesel too, right? Not only Delaney, but all of us, including Norman Walls. So we have to look at natural gas to heat our homes and stuff like that. But those are the kind of legacies that Imperial Oil should be looking at. After 100 years, thank you for the houses, but it's not much of a legacy for me. But I'm not saying anything negative. It's just the truth, right? So, but I like to work with you guys, and Kwatide, Danny Gret, I sent him a picture of. I said he said it's about right, 175 million. But how much of that went to Delaney? I don't think very much. So just reminding, we're all in it together, all 7 land corporations. So when you do things, we have to be part of it. We're all in it together. So, like I said, we run our government based on employment opportunities and business opportunities. We collect Delaney, everybody that works in Delaney, the nurses, the RCMP, everybody in Delaney, their taxes go back to our government. And we use those monies to build stuff like the preschool, all those, an $8 million project is based on those kind of monies we get. And as a government, we rely on those things, and corporations like yourselves, I mean, we can make collect a lot of good taxes from that. So I just wanted to make those comments. And another one is, it's crazy. This is really crazy. You look at the gas prices in Norman Wells. Wow. Doing business in the north, it's crazy. For a can of pop in the community is $5. How can you run a business? Like our Grey Goose Lodge in Delaney, the light bill, the lone power bill is over $10,000 a month. $10,000. But we're still providing it because people need to stay someplace, right? And then I question the fact that you dismantled a refinery that was capable of producing their own gas in another territories and selling it. I don't know who in the right mind would dismantle something that was built to sell gas. Was it the government of Canada or was it Imperial? Well, those kind of stuff, you know? I mean, if we do things right, then it will serve us right. But it's more or less of a comment, and you can answer some of these questions if you want, but it's just rep from Delaney.
Yeah, Leonard, no, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being very honest. So I guess the only thing that I'll really touch on is how do we support all the land corporations? Now, that's a focus area for me. There are partnerships that include additional land corporations. I'd like to have every land corporation in these partnerships, and I've been pretty clear about that with all the leaders. Like, let's do whatever we can to get every land corporation in these partnerships. That way, everybody in the Sahtu can benefit. So that is something that I consistently recommend. It may have not been necessarily that way for the last 20 years, but that's something that we consistently recommend. We do have this pipeline project coming up. For the pipeline project, which is, probably a $20 million project, we were looking at opportunities for land corporations to partner with our likely general contractor, which is Graham Construction. Graham Construction was reaching out. They were working with Sahtu United, which has 4 of the land corporations. And we also talked about what can you do to get Yamoga and Ayunike and Norman Wells Land Corporation in this as well. And we really are encouraging those things. So we do want to see that spread across the Sahtu more equitably, I guess is what I'd say, more reasonably. But we are far from experts on claims and treaties and number of members and how things need to be set up appropriately, and is it modeled after the SSI. And so we allow the community leaders to really press for how they need to do those things. I will tell you, we're going through this regulatory process. And as we go through the regulatory process, as I communicate to the leaders, make sure you're having those business discussions with me as well. We fully expect to take care of the land and water. That's what we do. We're environmentally responsible, period. That's what we want to do. As soon as we make it through this regulatory process, we're gonna go after and put this pipeline in. And make sure that you're on the side that is gonna see some benefits from a business perspective. So that's something that I've really been communicating with all the leaders, and hopefully, and hoping and encouraging, I'd say, the different land corporations to come together to have some kind of participation in that. And what I'm hearing is the different land corporation leaders are getting more engaged and more involved, and are figuring out ways to where they can all work and be part of that vehicle. Let's see, as far as the refineries and some of the other comments, like I can't comment on the refinery necessarily. I understand what you're saying. I question myself, why is the refinery gone? But when you're producing as small as we are and you're not certain that there's going to be additional volumes coming in, I'm sure it just didn't make any sense to have a refinery up here. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Before we roll, any questions?
Because I see the, how many companies are you dealing with? Because I'm just learning a lot of information here and I can't really,
Sorry, Lucy, did you ask how many companies do we deal with? Sahtu,
Yes.
Sahtu companies?
Altogether.
I think there's about 20. We had a list of them. There's about maybe pushing up to 20 companies that benefit from our operations.
28 companies?
About 20, if I remember right, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It's more than you realize, and I didn't recognize it until I saw the numbers, but it's through the chain.
So it's costing us, the community-based peoples, it's costing us our whole life. When you look at the fee structures of each company with the machinery and other usage of our non-renewable and renewable resources, wow, peoples. So in this case, there's many companies, some of it must be imported companies, however. What will that leave the communities? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, because we don't see it. But we're making them wealthy when I watch and see all this in our communities, and I look at all the machinery, the fee structures, holy. This is where I'm coming from. And I know there's a joint company, I'm just learning that now too. 3 companies that have joined forces together. Do they have more decision-making power than the smaller, which I'm not really interested in, but it's the community-based peoples that have to understand these companies. And there's nothing wrong to say this thing, but I think as indigenous peoples, we have to start thinking radical changes for our community-based, because this is for the future generations. Our children, their children cannot grow in a poverty scale of living. It has to change. I don't know how, I'm just learning all this right now, so I'm just running around with everything in my head now. But I think I've touched the main source of people. When I look at the, what do you call this, property for the Norman Wells energy resources, that's a big, when you're talking about strict safety, I hope you are. I hope you are, because we're living below good hope, and I think about this, the safety structure of this inland and underwater, both sides of the river. It's just, you have to think 2 or 3 times to ensure that Canada, because this is part of our system over here, the Sahtu is majority indigenous peoples, and I think they're the ones that are losing out. Their children's, and that was not what it was for. Their children's and our great-grandchildren's. So it's time to think, I mean, for the peoples in the Sahtu, we have to start thinking radical changes for the future generations. That's when I see this, it just, especially the fee structure set, and we support them. They have to understand where we are coming at from too, because it's for the safety of the communities and for the safety of the peoples and the young peoples. And this is where, that's all I could go as far as to right now. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for that.
No, I appreciate it, Miss Lucy, and we missed your interpretation this time around. Really appreciated that when we were in Fort Good Hope. But just to make sure I understand what you're going with the company. So when I say 20 companies, those are the HRNs, the HSE, integrated, like we're talking about Sahtu companies that are receiving funding from us and having that funding here. We will not be here forever, and so they need to figure out, what their business model will look like whenever we're not here. But I'm talking about Sahtu folks that we're paying to. I don't really understand the different pay structures and things, but all the comments. But there's about 20 or so companies that we're consistently providing some funding, and that can be just a few folks that are coming, or it can be like an HRN that has lots of equipment and we're paying for equipment costs, or but it could be, like I said, is it our HSE medics, a couple medics that are coming, or Sahtu United, and they're providing a few bodies from the different communities to help us do some progressive reclamation work, which basically means we're looking at the water, we're looking at the land to make sure we're doing what we need to be doing. So these companies are all different sizes. Some are definitely bigger than others, and therefore getting a bigger piece of the action. But it's really driven by their resources, human resources, but also equipment resources. No, thank you.
Last questions for Peter Oil? Can we move on? Keep it short, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. I guess my question is, when you talk about these companies that you're giving contract to, which is understandable, but the problem I see, you're dealing with these leaders. So a lot of times the leaders don't bring back the opportunities to the people. So the people mess out. So why I'm suggesting that go to each community, pick up the business list, and if I say I'm a leader, and I know and if I have a company, well, I want my company to benefit, obviously. But what about the people I represent? Your obligation is to the people you represent, and that's very important. Also include the people, the surrounding region, that opportunities there. Like I said, give them a chance. Give them a chance to grow a little bit, not sit on the sideline, sitting back. Because and then let's say you do it like this remediation cleanup. I mean, right now you got Parson. I know that. And are they really looking at the business people, the smaller people, who they are? Get them. I mean, I know I've seen some business that come out from them, but nothing come out. They just do it themselves anyway. So what about this? Say if Uncle Gordon, want to do something, well, he doesn't get that chance, so they walk away. And that's where that feeling started, which started about 100 years ago anyway. So thank you.
No, I appreciate your comment.
Yeah, this is a few things, a comment and a few questions. I guess my name is Gordon Yakeleya. I come from Toledo. I've been through all the organizations, to Grand Chief, District President, Mayor. I've been through all these organizations, RSC. I lead them all, and I know how we can work. Now, where I'm back in Toledo, I'm working for the hand, but hopefully what I'm going to do is try to get the elderly council going. Because this is where we should be following the elders. They're guiding. This is what I referred to when I'm opening, saying that we need to follow their advice because they know the knowledge of what's going to happen in that. And there's a lot of things that is happening today in the world. It's never used to be happening like this. But what I'm about to start before I get into it, my question is that my family, my mom, came from here, back in 1920 or something, when the discovery of oil had been discovered. And she mentioned to me how her dad died, how she went to residential school, when she came back. But those days when they talk about things that mostly women talk to their daughter for the story. So my sister is 81 today. She has a lot of stories about what my mom had told her. Because her dad died and what she went through with her family and others. She had another sister, another brother, that she knew they had brothers. So So she came back, but she shared the story. And now what we're facing today is the kill play discovery. That's going to happen one day. It's going to, I know the elders that told me about it, that they already see that it's going to happen. And we don't want to go through what we're going through. You know. I know Esther had made changes. I worked with Court over years ago. I know what it was like. The big change that I can see is those days with a lot of alcohol. But today, now, it's stricter rules for Esther, for the safety of everybody. Every company is starting to have that, which is good to see. And one good thing is good to see a lot of our young people are working. That's what I'd like to see happen, start to happen. But we need to do more. And I guess that's where you guys are going to need the community to help you. And one of the things that, as I go along and I was looking at the map and what you have, there's two things that I wanted to say. Is that I think in 1925, you guys had did a well at Bluefish Creek below Toledo. Nobody knew about it in Toledo. Till this one day, this old, the elder was trying to hunt beaver in the springtime. And he came across this abandoned well at the oil slick contained oil. It's quite large. And how he reported back to us. So that's why I think we let Esther know. So I think we cleaned it up, but it's not. I don't know why they didn't seal it off with cement or anything. I don't know today if anybody ever monitors that, because our elders always talk about the water, the land, and the animals. How we should be protecting it for this generation and next generation and people coming after us. So I guess that's my concern today. It's still there. I don't know if anybody goes down to monitor that. This is one thing that I'm going to mention to the elders who talk about this. And another one is that we talk about this, we really talk about the pipeline. I think what needs to happen is that ASTRO needs to consult people more in a better way, like go to the community and explain to them, especially the elders who don't understand what you're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're drawing water. If you're going to draw water today, look at our water today. I don't know what could happen down the river. So those kind of questions that I think people need to know and people back home need to understand. Because you don't want to destroy something that's going to hurt us in the future generation. It's like I go in the backyard and I destroy something without knowing that this will work well with both of us.
Yeah.
So I think that's what my question is going to be to you. I think you need to consult the people properly. Spend time with them all day. I think it's worth the time and effort to talk about this. Because I guess what I'm saying, we're not saying no to, but we need to be consulted properly. Because there's always a challenge in court, as we see down south all over, that people are concerned about today, what's happening now. Okay, so thank you much. I just look my question right there.
No, thank you, Gordon. I appreciate that. Regarding wells in the area, so that would be part of the environmental assessment that ultimately happens to ensure that all those different areas are gathered together and a comprehensive plan is pulled together to ensure that we are meeting obligations for future. Regarding current monitoring, I don't know of any current monitoring on that well. I mean, if I can get some more information from you, we know where our wells are. And we do have those on our database. I'm assuming that would be within my database, but I'll chat with you afterwards and follow up on that. Regarding listening about the pipeline replacement project specifically, so we do go to the community. We have been talking about this project since January of 23, when we did Neighbor Week. went to all the communities. We actually didn't get to go to Toledo that year because of a funeral. So we did all the communities but Toledo that year in January. But then we've had other community meetings where we've talked about it as well. I agree. Over communication is definitely preferred, period. That's definitely the best way to do it. But I also want to state that through the regulatory process, they are going to have a session for oral knowledge and an oral hearing type session where folks can come in the Sahtu and talk about our operating licenses coming forward and also the pipeline project. And so that's something that the CER is going to be holding, and it's expected to hold in April. It was early to mid-April. I think I've heard from different communities that they're looking more like April 16th or thereabouts. So that is happening as well. But yes, so we have been going to communities and talking about this. I'll tell you, when we go to the communities, we get who comes, and we appreciate who comes, and we have good discussions. But not everybody comes too. So we do try to over-communicate though.
Okay, guys, we're running out of daylight. Running out of daylight here, so I'd like to keep this thing moving along if I can. I've got some more presentations to be made. I want to thank Imperial Oil for the presentation and thank you for the chocolate bars. Come again soon, bring more chocolate bars.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take 5 minutes, guys, and then we'll get MTS up here and talk about how much water we